On this episode, we headed out into the Gulf to target a variety of different game fish. We've got a ton of awesome footage to share with you guys from our adventure today, but we want to remind you this episode is fueled by boaterslist.com. All of what we needed to get set up for this awesome trip was through Boaters List, whether it is you need parts, mechanics, marinas. We've got it all there on Boaters List to get set up for your next adventure. So let's dive in. So our trip begins in Orange Beach. We had gotten everything ready in the morning and we started to get boarded aboard the Patron. As you guys can see, beautiful vessel here. We've got Captain Freddie at the helm on the bridge. And after talking with him, we found out that there had been some really good fish in the past couple of days that he had heard from his captain buddies. And we were armed to the teeth, ready to get out there and get after some of these fish. But it does take a lot of preparation to get this stuff ready. So we just wanted to kind of get settled in the kitchen and cabin, get our stuff all put together. The main cabin's nice and spacious. So we just kind of took it easy on the way out. The mates that had gotten everything ready in the morning were pretty wiped themselves. So they were, most of them taking a nap up on the bridge, and Tony ran the boat out to our first spot, which was on the rigs. And here we wanted to just get after some amberjack. That was the first target on this trip. And if you've not caught amberjack before, they are a pretty aggressive species. So we were making sure that we had everything together ready, our jigs. We made sure that all of our lines were nice and tied tight, and it really did not take long to get onto some of these fish. You can see Mark Wolf over here on the left jigging, and he just hooked up pretty much immediately on one of these fish. Did not take long. They were swarming all over this rig, and they put up quite a fight, as you guys are going to see here in a second.
Like a big fish or?
Not really.
No. Which thing you got on there, Mark?
That's a good question. I think it's a small amberjack.
I don't know. What do you think? We're gonna find out.
I don't think this one's as big. No, that one don't look legal. But he's getting greased.
Whoa! Hey, there he is. Woo! That's a big one. What do you think, AJ?
Man. Well, you can lie too.
Gaff man's getting ready.
He's not wrong.
He's 2 for 2, no misses, good shots.
What do you got? That one wasn't coming off. Get off!
Whoa. Nice one. That's a dog right there. These color changes in the line, they're marked by what, 100 meters? Or 100 yards?
Yeah, 25 meters or something like that. Every 2 color changes is 100 feet, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if that one don't have it. Looks like a downrigger? Yeah, for Tuna. I'm next door neighbor, that's how you claim to fuck
Shark or what?
There's a barracuda right over here. Same size as that last one.
It's a barracuda? Big. See it? Huge.
That might be bigger.
So without a doubt, these are some pretty tough fighting fish. They were putting the whooping on us, but we were giving it right back to them. Every single person on the boat was able to hook up with one of these fish. We brought a lot of them over the rail, and we filled that box up really well, which was great. We had some good fighting fish, but also Robin was able to get on to bonita, which is something that we were really going to need for our trolling.
Bring that in. I want that one for a bait. It's gonna be one of my skip baits.
Now, with our limit of amberjacks and a nice bonita on the boat, we decided to go ahead and get started with some trolling. So we put the outriggers out, the mates started to get the baits rigged up, and we had everything out going, and we started to troll around these different structures like the oil rigs and the ships, trying to entice a bite from a big marlin. And it didn't take long before we got some action.
Right low, right short, right short, right teaser, marlin, marlin. There he is, there he is.
Now, as you guys can see, we got the strike, but unfortunately, we were really close to an oil rig when we hooked up with this fish, and it was pulling really hard, and it was getting some really good runs in, and unfortunately, it got caught up in the rig.
Back up, you gotta keep. Yeah, slow down a little bit. We're gonna try to pull him out. You got him on your nose.
Yeah, I feel pressure. Yeah, he's still on. Oh, he's swimming around towards the boat.
Now, Martin still felt pressure, and we continued to fight, but as we got further away from the rig, it seemed like we were just pulling slack out of the bow of the line, unfortunately.
What happened, Martin?
But thankfully, all was not lost. We continued to troll around after getting the AJs cleaned up, and we actually did manage to pop a nice little barracuda, and we got this really cool shot of this Mahi coming up and hitting the spread as well.
Oh, he's small. Mouth hook.
He's hooked? Yeah. Here he comes. Let's see how he's gonna come in hot.
Tacos.
So with the Mahi in the boat, we were pretty excited because we knew we'd be having some really good tacos later on. The mates got to cleaning up that fish, and we got back to trolling around the rigs. And it did not take long for us to find some more action. So Mark got on the reel, and it became pretty clear that we were on with a marlin. So he was in for a pretty big fight. We had a really long battle with this fish, but Mark gave it his all, and shortly after, we had that fish up close to the boat, got a good eyeball on it, and we were able to land and successfully release it.
They don't have strikes in the Gulf of Mexico.
A little
white marlin.
A big white marlin.
Good.
So again, we were able to get that fish back and successfully released. It was really good to have a marlin on the board, and we got back to trolling. A little bit of a slow evening, did not manage to pick anything else up. The mates worked really hard, but we decided to just go ahead and prep dinner, get it together, and we had ourselves a really nice taco fest out on the boat in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. And that wrapped up day one of fishing for us on the Patron, which was a really successful day of fishing. We got back at it early in the morning with a fish on, woke us all up, scream and drag, and Tom jumped on that fish pretty much immediately. We were able to get a good solid hookup right next to this rig, and you guys will see pretty solid wahoo here.
In the boat, in the boat, in the boat, in the boat, in the boat.
Talk about an epic start to the day. We knew we were in for a big fish when we saw that rod double over and we heard the drag screaming, but we did not know we were in for a wahoo that big. So the mates got everything back together after we caught that fish, and we knew that there was some serious activity in the area as we trolled around these rigs. Captain Freddie saw a lot of action from tuna and even some marlin jumping on the surface.
That's that marlin blowing up.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a marlin. We're going now, we're going. That's the same place. That's where I've seen him all day. We've been over him 100 times, we still ain't hit.
Now, despite our efforts, we continued to troll around with no success. There was a lot of other boats around us that Captain Freddie was talking to that were catching a ton of tuna near these rigs and these ships that we were trolling on. We did try to throw on some of these schools with poppers. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of success there, but you can't say that we didn't try. So with day 2 being a little bit of a slower day, we wrapped things up on the boat and headed to bed. But Captain Freddie and Johnny had a plan. They actually went and fished near one of these ships at night and were able to hook up while chunking and throwing jigs with 2 really solid tuna, as you guys can see here. So we knew that the following day we were going to probably replicate that same plan. Pull up to one of these ships at night, drop a bunch of jigs, and throw a bunch of chunks overboard and see if we could pull some more yellowfin in to put in the box. But with the success of all those blackfin and the yellowfin, we decided to stay close to those ships the following morning. Captain Freddie had a really good feeling, and it did not take long for us to get onto another really solid bite at first light. Now, you can't see from the camera angles that we had rolling. Again, this fish bit just as we were all starting to wake up in the morning, but we have a really solid marlin on the line. Here we are trying to get the wire close to the boat so we can finish up and land him. We're going to get a nice little underwater shot of him right here. But again, a really solid marlin to put on the board. The wire just got pulled loose there. A successful release with that fish, so it was good to have another one strong and going. And you can see here, almost immediately after we released this fish, as we were getting ready, we had another bite, just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So like Captain Freddie said, a pretty solid start to the day before we even got to cooking breakfast. A blue and a marlin at first light is a strong way to start the day, and the mates got to clean in the tuna from the night prior, and we set in for another day of fishing. It was a little bit slow throughout the day. Luckily, we had some good baseball games to watch, but as we got later on into the day, we started finding some action, marking some fish. We had actually circled around this specific rig several times because we were seeing a lot of action on the depth finder, and it finally paid off with a really solid fish here, as you guys will see. So Mark with another stud wahoo in the boat, some great colors on this fish, and just a really strong finish to the day with a blue in the morning, another wahoo, and that last one to wrap it up. So we got to cutting up some of that tuna from the night prior, and we even managed to get some wahoo on the table as well for some sashimi in the evening before we got to fishing those rigs for those tuna that we had been waiting on all night. And it did not take long right after we got to the rig for us to start hooking up left and right. Pretty much everybody that had a rod in their hand was hooking up with these fish. And we were using a variety of methods, from the chunking to the jigs. It just seemed like no matter what we did, as soon as we put a bait down in the water, as you guys will see here, just a couple cranks and we're on with the fish already again. It was left and right with these blackfin. But our true target was the yellowfin. They have a much more high quality meat on them than the blackfin. The blackfin are really fun to fight, but finally we were able to get a really, really nice yellowfin in the boat on the jig. As you guys can see here, solid fish. Definitely put up quite a fight and wore us out. And it was a really, really fun night of getting on all of these tuna on these jigs and chunking. We definitely were pretty sore the following morning after reeling in a bunch of these fish. Now, unfortunately, that was our last night and we had to head in for the trip, but that was not without one more fish that we were able to pop off on one of those center rods, as you guys will see here in a second.
Oh, good dog, good dog! Yeah.
Please put the bill. I'll make a little sporting.
That's the one on our page. Is there another one?
So there you have it, a nice Mahi to finish off our trip, and what a trip it was. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe our video and let us know where you want to see our next adventure here at Boaters List. We're looking forward to seeing you guys on the next video.